And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. 7 years ago, Ministry of Tran BC released a video, BC Road Trip Time Machine, Highway 16, Prince Rupert to Terrace, 1966. Around the 10-minute mark of the video, the landmark Car Wash Rock, before it was cut back to allow more lane width, can be seen. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this 2001 story.
Highway driving. Those words alone can send fear into some individuals. There are so many hazards to look out for when you're on the road, and on Highway 16 west of Terrace, add another one to the list. This is the well-known Car Wash Rock, which does just what its name implies.
That was built during the Second World War, and it's been a problem ever since. And I wasn't traveling in those days, but I can tell you since 1975 I've traveled, and it's been a problem that I've noticed, and that's a little over 25 years.
This highway running west of Prince Rupert sees many transport trucks every day and night. Truck drivers would grow nervous when approaching the overhang.
When everything's rolling here, we'll do in excess of 140 loads a day down to Prince Rupert. So it's something that's on our minds and on our drivers' minds continually. I mean, they go through that section twice a day. And it's bad enough heading east, but heading west, you're up against the rock, and if you're forced into it, there's nowhere else to go. There's also a rail line on the other side, so the odd time you have rail, rain, darkness, and two vehicles passing each other, it's a pretty congested area.
Damage to the large traveling trucks occurred frequently due to the clearance height.
Yeah, I think over a period of time, every couple of months seem to get forced into the rock with our chip vans. So although the damage has been, I guess, minimal, maybe the under $10,000 range, at some point if someone, if a trailer came apart or someone else was impacted, we were worried about that.
Construction began on Car Wash Rock at the beginning of March. Chimera Springs Rockwork Limited of Chase, BC won a contract just over $119,000 to drill, blast, and secure the rock bluff with bolts.
Once the contractor was on site, their initial plan of attack was to stabilize the entire rock face prior to blasting. And to do this, they installed approximately 200 lineal meters of rock bolts into the surrounding face, and it's basically just stapling and securing everything prior to the blasting.
5, 4, 3.
The contractor was required to have a blasting consultant on site for every blast, and they had to utilize his recommendations for loading factor for powder and to make sure that the blast went off as smooth as possible, and the final product would be what we wanted.
The blasting at Car Wash Rock wrapped up ahead of schedule. 300 cubic meters of the rock overhang was removed. The result created a smooth wall, 6 meters high, and an angle of 60 degrees up to 12 meters, which ensured clearance to the traveling public.
Everything went extremely smooth. The important aspect of it was the coordination with CN Rail, where we had to do our blasting around their train times, and we had to shuffle our delays and closures to accommodate the rail traffic, and that was about the only major thing that had to be coordinated.
With that project completed, the crew moved down the highway to do some minor rock work ditching by 35 Mile Bluff west of Ex-Chamsix River. The job is planned to improve the drainage situation and widen the driver's perception on that stretch of the highway. The clearance problem at Car Wash Rock may be over, but another issue still remains: the water.
What they've taken away is the clearance for the trucks, so the trucks no longer will be clipping the rock face. They've cut that part away. You still will be getting the splash of the water, and you still will be getting some of the ice in that, and maybe one day further down the road there will be enough money available to get rid of that problem.
I think everybody recognizes that when you put a road through the mountains, there's going to be some difficulties associated with it, and it's actually an excellent road. That's the one spot, that in the East Chamsix area, that is still kind of like the old standard. While they've widened it out a bit and it's going to make visibility better, it would be nice to see if someday the funds would be forthcoming just to get that overhang off there. Because I think there's still going to be an issue with falling rock and falling ice.
In March 1989, a fatal accident occurred when a chunk of ice fell off Car Wash Rock onto a truck passing underneath. A man was killed and his wife, who was in the passenger seat, survived. The BC Supreme Court later ruled in 1993 that the Highways Ministry, not a contractor, was responsible for ensuring the overhang at Car Wash Rock was free of dangerous ice. The Highways Ministry says it has no future plans to address the water problem at Car Wash Rock. Removing the rock nub entirely could cost $2 million, so drivers on Highway 16 will continue to face the forces of nature up close.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. More than 3 million people in the United States and Canada snowmobile each year, enjoying more than 230,000 miles of groomed public trails. As trails and recreation areas become more crowded, it's especially important for people to operate these vehicles safely and responsibly. Let us return to the archives with John Ripple.
Fresh tracks in the snow lead to the scene. 2 injured, 1 dead. Snowmobiles tangled together. But wait, that is not a real person, and this is not real blood. This is a test, and only a test.
We simulated a snowmobile accident where there were 2 people injured and 1 deceased. I made a call to the police. They responded, realizing that they didn't have the information as to where these people were at, where the accident happened. So they had to call in search and rescue to help locate them.
That's when the name of the game becomes cooperation. Rempel masterminded this scenario to give emergency response team a chance to test their skills. This is Annie the mannequin. Moments ago, she was loaded onto a skimmer and taken to the accident site, where her snowmobiling partners await. A scenario like this takes a lot of coordination and a lot of help. Dave Hopper and Shelley Hansen from the Burns Lake Snowmobile Club volunteered to be at the crash site and to make it look as realistic as possible. Only a few rescue officials are involved in what's going on. The rest won't know it's an exercise until they arrive at the scene.
Are we allowed to look at this?
Brianne Sketchley and Sherry Stornis Bliss have volunteered some of their spring break time to act as Annie's snowmobile partners and to stage injuries themselves. One will fake a broken leg, the other a spinal injury. The blood, dish soap mixed with red dye, adds dramatic effect.
We should be at the staging area next 5 minutes or so.
Rempel gives the crash scene a heads up when rescue personnel are on their way.
We're not wasting any time by the sounds of it.
There are 4 different ways to get to this cut block. By the sounds of approaching snowmobiles, they've picked the most efficient route. Those not involved in the accident hide out of the way while the rescuers approach. When they arrive, they realize this is a simulation. Nevertheless, they quickly get to work.
How are you doing down there? Good. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, lift slightly. Ow! Okay, easy.
Some great acting by the victims adds to the authenticity of the scene. Changing weather brings further challenges to the on-site first aid treatment that is the result of a chain reaction set off by Rempel's initial call to the RCMP.
They had to call in search and rescue to help locate them because a GPS location was given. They had to get someone to get them into the area, which was the Snowmobile Club. It was about a mile off the road. And then the ambulance had to be taken in there to help the victims and take them out to the ambulance.
Skimmers and snowmobiles are used to transport the victims to a waiting ambulance. The Burns Lake Snowmobile Club is interested in volunteering with emergency teams should a situation like this one really happen. Because of Annie's mock death, this would also be an RCMP investigation. But for today, it's decided she doesn't have to wait around in the snow any longer. Back in town, there's a debriefing session where each team analyzes its performance and comments on the other teams. Everyone seems to agree the most important tool is communication. Knowledge of first aid is also recommended for all who may be involved.
That's real life. You take a scenario and a situation, and you make a decision to do it, and you run with it, and then you sit down. You know, 20/20 hindsight. Sometimes we realize something we could have done better, and that was the idea of this today.
As they say, practice makes perfect. And if there's one time you want to be perfect, it's when a real emergency happens.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. After graduating from the University of Victoria, she moved back to Kitimat, where her first job was teaching fitness classes at Riverview Lodge. Cory then decided to apply a teaching program in elementary school teaching certificate from Simon Fraser University. Let us return to the archives with Cory Boguski.
Last year, during March break, River Lodge programmers developed the Girls Only Conference. It was a program aimed at bringing adolescent girls together to discuss issues of interest. For River Lodge programmer Cory Boguski, the 2001 conference is her first foray into the unique program.
Last year was the first year that we had decided to run it, and it basically stemmed from our wellspring for women. And we decided that that might be something that the girls would like to do at a younger age, is have a day where they are getting introduced to new things and experiencing different kinds of things that they maybe might not normally do.
Since last year's inaugural program, a few changes have been made to the day-long activities.
Lori White last year came in and did a session on street proofing, which went over well, and just some issues that girls might be concerned about were addressed. So this year we've decided that to keep things a little bit more light and active, so we've designed our day around being active, making healthy choices.
The changes were a result of feedback from the over 70 participants.
From the response that we got last year, it was very positive from the girls, but there was a lot of stuff that they were doing that they were sitting around and listening to. So we wanted to focus on things that they could actually be involved in and get some hands-on experience with, and doing things a little bit more active.
Raising the self-esteem of the participants is the program's main goal, but there are spin-off benefits.
Pretty much self-esteem and feeling good about yourself, and as well as maybe trying things that you're used to but in a little bit of a different way, and feeling comfortable with a different group of people that you might not normally spend time with. In each of the elementary schools, they are involved in classes and have certain groups of friends, and this is just a way to kind of interact with other girls and get some different kinds of experiences out of different kinds of people.
The day-long program is targeted at girls between the ages of 10 to 14, a slight change from last year.
Well, last year that was the most popular age grouping and seemed to be the most well-received. We did try to offer a similar type workshop for teens 14 to 17 years old, and the response just wasn't there. So we tried to focus in on the younger age, and you do find the younger that you get children involved or girls involved in certain kinds of activities, the more likely they are to continue them, and so we're trying to focus in on that.
All the girls had different reasons for taking part.
My friends told me that it was fun last year, and I wanted to try it because I didn't get to last year, and I need something to do over spring break, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Over the duration of the program, the girls' itinerary was full of numerous distinct activities.
We have a person in from South Africa that's in our community for a short period of time, and she's been involved in teaching African rhythm dance, so we're going to give them some experience in that. As well, a nutritionist, Flo Shepherd from Terrace, will be coming in and doing a nutrition talk with them, and then they'll be using those skills that they've learned, hopefully, and be involved in and preparing their own lunch. And from there, in the afternoon, they kind of take more of a hygiene, kind of healthy taking care of their bodies kind of focus.
The afternoon activities included making soaps and bath balls, a session on skincare and makeup, and another session on hairstyling, plus a dancing workshop. Organizers looked into presenting other not-so-stereotypical activities, but many didn't fit into the schedule.
With a different aspect in things that they might not do, because they probably wouldn't necessarily sign up for an African rhythm dance class and different things like that, and just having a setting where they're feeling comfortable and doing and interacting with each other in something that they'll be involved in maybe later on in life.
The African rhythm dancing seemed to be a big hit.
It was tiring.
It was tiring.
I thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah, because
it was like
freaky.
Because they cut them. You're like hitting your feet and everything, so.
The program takes place over only one day to give the girls a chance to take part in other activities during their March break.
It seemed to work out well last year. I think because it's over spring break, it is a time for them to do other things as well, and having one of those days just concentrating on feeling good and being with people that maybe they're not normally used to being around is great, but then they have the rest of the spring break to enjoy themselves as well.
Many of the girls felt the conference was important.
They can learn more about themselves.
Because you're growing up now, and then because people might think, oh, I'm too fat, and then it shows that it's not good to go on diets, and how to make your own soaps and make your skin feel all soft and different smells.
Even with the success of the girls-only conference, no boys program is yet to be developed.
That's probably something that we could look into for the future. I think just the whole overall feeling of the previous planners and programmers as well is that boys tend to want to be a little bit more active, and as well the school district is running a program in May, workshops for both boys and girls to deal with issues that are separate to both of them, and we didn't really want to overlap on those kinds of things.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Devised around 1909 by Thomas Ryan of Toronto, Ontario, in response to customers who complained that the 10-pin game was too strenuous, he cut 5 10-pins down to about 75% of their size and used hand-sized hard rubber balls, thus inventing an original version of 5-pin bowling. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the archives with Rick Troji.
18 years ago, a group of local bowling alley owners had a vision. They were getting fed up with the cost of sending their bowlers down south to compete, so they created their own tournament, the Northwest Open Bowling Tournament.
Just myself and a couple other proprietors from a couple of the other bowling centers, we just got together one day and said, let's run a tournament, which is a lot lower cost for the bowlers. It's not so much travel. So we just started up this Northwest Open back in 1984. And it's just grown and grown. It's doubled in size, and it seems to get bigger and better every year. And it's the 18th annual one now.
Even back then, the response was very positive.
Well, what does this first annual 5-pin bowling championship here in Kitimat mean to you?
Oh, it's good competition, and it's good to see all the towns participate in bowling.
And you don't have to head to Vancouver every year.
That's right. We can keep everything in the Northwest.
Good times, good people. How about the competition?
Really good.
The tournament includes teams from Kitimat, Terrace, Smithers, Houston, Prince George, and Mackenzie. Each year, the venue of the event shifts from bowling center to bowling center.
It goes from center to center. It rotates. Starts like right now it's in Kitimat. Next year, I believe it's Smithers, and then Houston, and so on, so on, so on.
The 2001 tournament was hosted in Kitimat this past weekend, and it marked only the third time Kitimat has served as host since the inaugural tournament in 1984. For 18 years, each center has won their share of the hardware.
Last year, Prince George won it all, and I think the year before Terrace did, so it sort of goes around every year. Kitimat's kind of done bad in the last few years, but this is our year.
Each center sends a fairly large group to represent them over the weekend.
Approximately 132, depending on how many coaches are. Some teams have player coaches, some have the coaches that just all they do is coach.
The tournament format allows individuals to play on teams as well as in the single competitions.
There's basically 4 different events. You have your men's team, your ladies team, your mixed team, and then some of the competitors bowl in 2 things, which is the second thing is the singles.
Since many bowlers bowl in a few categories, that can accumulate into a lot of bowling over 3 days.
The singles, they're bowling men's team or ladies team plus the singles, so they could go up to 20 games plus the playoffs if they do really well.
There aren't huge cash prizes or shiny trophies, but organizers say the competition is fierce.
We're just playing mainly for trophies, medals, banners, you can see up here. Pride, bragging rights.
Since 1984, participants have seen the tournament grow by leaps and bounds.
The first couple of years we ran with, the first year was just 3, and I believe it went to 4 the second year. And the last, say, 13, 14 years, it's been all 6 centers. A center right now is afraid to pull out, because if we replace them, they may never get back in. So it's generally the same centers every year.
Those who took part 18 years ago will witness many of the same things, but experience many new things as well.
Well, in '88, we had a banquet that the food was terrible. That won't happen this year. I don't know.
The differences?
Yeah.
The format's changed a little bit over the years. Like singles is the top 5 make a step ladder like they do on TV, and the 5th place 4th, the winner goes on, plays 3rd, and so on until you get up to the 1st place and they play off. They didn't do that in the first year, I was told.
The Northwest Open Bowling Tournament has grown during those 18 years, but organizers say it can expand much more.
Center-wise, no, because we have Smithers in Houston, which only have 6 lanes, so we don't want to have them where they couldn't host it. You know, like Kitimat and the rest, we have 8 lanes, so we could go with 8 centers, but when we have Smithers and Houston hosting it, they only have 6 centers, so we have to eliminate a couple to our 6 lanes.
Sometimes when organizers of the first tournament look at what it's become today, they just have to shake their heads.
Amazes me sometimes. I look around and see how big it's actually gotten. And we just started off as, let's try it. It's biggest and best in the north.
That they have agreed to return the pole, and there should be a replica carved in Sweden in exchange, and the funding of shipment, I believe, is done by the Swedish government. When we saw the video when they first went over to Sweden, it was quite emotional to many people as to see something that we owned that far away from us.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.